What up, fishes? It's your boy Chillfish here today from Rising Duelist, and it's Friday. You ain't got no deck, you got nowhere to be, and you're going to be choosing a deck today here. So today I'll be talking about kind of what things you want to kind of think about when building the right Yu-Gi-Oh deck for you, because as we've all done this before, we've all invested our time or our money in a deck that we like for a good solid 5 minutes, and we feel like instant regret from playing it, or we picked up a deck going, I thought it was going to be like this, and it's not working out just the way we like it. We want to kind of figure out how we're going to pick a deck for us to play. Or if you're just kind of thinking right now, the meta's kind of in a lull state right now, what do I want to play right now? What do I want to play around with? What do I want to experiment with? Or even just, I've been out of the game for a bit, I want to get back in, and I want to pick kind of a fun deck to get back into it. How should I do it? So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to pick the right Yu-Gi-Oh deck for you. Here's some things you can consider as you're deciding this deck. And now, there's no ranking on the order. It's not like one's the better option, 4 is the worst, or 5, or how many options am I talking about today, or even, you know, which is your main focus here. These are just kind of things that I think about when I decide to pick a game or pick a deck up for myself. So, without further ado, let's begin. Number one, I want to say is your goal. Do you want your goal to be more of a meta focus or casual? Because based on that question alone is going to impact pretty much anything else you're going to decide in the deck, so to speak. If you want to go meta, if you want to build a deck that is extremely consistent, or as I say, we're going meta for a minute. If you want to go meta, then you have to also think about other options. Do you want a more power play? Do you want control variant? Do you want something else? And that's where it kind of leads into that argument. But you already know you're in a certain realm. Okay, I know that I'm going to be meta and I got to spend this much money on it. If you want to go more casual, that's another thing. How much do you want to invest in the deck? Can you make it that competitive? Do you want to make it just for funsies? Or do you want to add your own personal spice to it? These are kind of things that you do need to think about first, is what is your end goal with the deck. If you're thinking, I'm going to build this deck because I've always wanted it. You know, right now I'm trying to build Red Eyes. It's a deck that I kind of always wanted since I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Story time. I originally was going to play Heraldic Red Eyes, Dragon Rulers, and then Dragon Rulers got banned. So literally a month before the ban list hit, I was going to play it. I was building it up. I was so excited to pick up everything. And then Axe. So this is kind of a deck that I've wanted to build for a while. And it's very casual, but it can be pretty fun, and it can give you kind of a competitive edge if you want to build it that way. That's kind of where I'm focusing in right now. Versus if I wanted to go meta, let's pretend I wanted to go meta, I probably would invest maybe in True Draco right now, because that's kind of becoming a really good deck, and I kind of like a little bit more than Pendulum. It's your options. You have to pick which side of the coin you want to be on. If you already know I'm going to go casual, you already have this pool of options. If you want to go meta, you have this pool of options, but that gives you at least a focus. That way you're not going to go, oh, I could turn this, you know, tier 7 Gusto deck into something competitive. If you want to, go for it. Or you know what, I want to play this meta deck, but I just want to play for casuals. How are you going to spend or afford that? Which, that ties into the second thing I want to talk about, is investment. How much money do you want to invest in this? If you don't want to spend a lot of money on a deck, but you want something cheap and fun, you're going to be looking for kind of cheap and fun alternatives. If you want something that's going to be really meta and won't break your bank, you also got to think of those terms as well. Or if you're thinking, I don't care, I want to be meta, I want to crush everybody, then you already have that other option in mind. Then that already puts your money term, because as we all know, unfortunately, in this game of Yu-Gi-Oh, money does kind of control what we're doing, or kind of is a focus, and don't pretend like it's not. So you want to make your investments carefully. Well, how much do you want to invest in your deck? Is it worth investing in your deck long term? And can you afford that risk, or can you even afford those playsets of things? Like if you want to play with Ash Blossom or evenly matched, do you want to invest in that? Because if you want your tier deck to go whatever tier it is, you want it to be competitive, you might have to invest in some money cards. So that's one thing you definitely need to consider, so you don't think of, okay, I'm going to build half a deck and then I'm not going to spend all my money and all this kind of things, because we've all been there before. I'm going to build this deck on a budget, and then you realize you really can't. The third thing I want to talk about is play style. What do you like playing in Yu-Gi-Oh? Are you more of a Lightsworn fan and you like milling? Do you like ABCs and you want to do a lot of combo pieces? Are you mermaids like me? We want to do hand shenanigans, combos, and all this stuff, and have to take a forever turn and just have a lot of resources. Depending on how your playstyle is, that will also depend on what kind of deck you want to pick. Do you want a control variant? Do you want to play Rock Stun, for example? Do you want something that has a little bit more power and push? Do you want to just create link spam? Because you're saying to yourself, I just want Borreload, and I want Firewall, and I want Saruja, I want all these link monsters on the board immediately. You're going to be picking a very different deck than a lot of other people could be playing at that point. So I think a lot of times, to be completely honest, playstyle is the thing that will turn a person on or away from a certain deck. I know that when I was playing World Chalice at the very beginning, when this thing came out, announced, when Code of the Duelist dropped, I was very excited to play it, but I didn't like, once I got the deck, I wasn't a big fan of how it was focused. You know, I just didn't like the style. I didn't like that early. The Venus engine, I liked Brilliant engine. Didn't like Venus, didn't want to do all other things. I thought, this isn't my style of deck. I think too often we've done that before. We picked up a deck, we think we're going to like the play style, and we end up not. So that's one thing that really to consider is what style of deck do you want to play? Is it very synchro heavy? Do you want to build Layer of Darkness, for example? A lot of people are talking about Layer of Darkness. Do you want to build a deck around that kind of concept? If you're thinking, well, that sounds cool, I want to play around with it, go for it. But if you think, I'm not a big fan of tributing things or being where I don't like field spells or whatever reason I don't like field spells or anything like that, then I would invest in that deck. But those play styles and that control thing definitely do change how you're going to pick up a deck. Old school shenanigans, but if you want to spam deck, 6 Sams did top recently, I believe, or if you want to bring back Black Wings from the dead, it'd be like very spammy decks, and that's going to turn you in direction of those decks that match that play style. Or if you want to go with different play style, if you're thinking, I've played a lot of control decks, I've played a lot of King of the Hill decks, I want to build something a little more kind of slow to start or more spammy, then you might want to try a different playstyle, but you need to think about that when you're picking your deck. Next thing I want to talk about is the archetypes themselves. I don't know about you, but this is kind of something that I always kind of personally lean on first when making a decision in playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Do I like what the archetype looks like? Do I like the attributes, the playstyle, the art? These are more of a cosmetic thing, but if you're going to be sitting down playing a deck for forever, or at least to build a championship, you might want to either like it in some way, shape, or form. But is the archetype worth your playstyle, or can you even like it? Because if you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to build this deck, I'm going to like it, and then you realize you don't like the archetype, that, I don't know about you, but that, for at least for me, that definitely helps me stay with a deck, or I don't like it, I want to get away from it. And kind of the last few things I do want to talk about with building how to pick the right Yu-Gi-Oh deck is, do you want to win or not? This is kind of a dumb question to think about, but if you're fine with playing a low tier deck just for fun, then great. If you want to win a lot of things, then you might need to go investing in the competitive meta, or at least in a deck that can outpower other things. Or think about this as well. Do you want a pure deck? Do you want a pure variant? Are you one of those people who only want to play with one archetype? Or do you like having multiple techs or trade-ins in the deck? One of my favorite decks right now I'm playing is Shadinos, and I like the fact that you have two different archetypes that work really well together and have a unique synergy, but they don't disrupt or take away from each other. I won't see that win on the board, but that's a different story. But for me, I love building hybrid decks. I know a lot of people want to play pure variants, or I know people that don't consider certain decks with certain techs. What do you want to do here? So these are kind of just my reasonings as to why you should play certain decks, or at least how you should pick up a deck when you're thinking about it. Because I know a lot of us get kind of caught up in the hype when a new set comes out. Like again, Flames of Destruction is coming out today, or it is legal today, and a lot of people would be jumping on these certain bandwagons. But what I always think about when we play these things is, am I going to like it in the long term? And that's kind of the last thought I want to leave you guys with is this going to be a long-term deck? Do you want this deck forever, or do you want it just for a regional? Because that's also going to depend on everything else as well. If you're thinking to yourself, well, I want to borrow a deck from a friend and I just want to play it at regionals, I want to play it at YCS, I want to take it to locals and win some sort of small goal, then you're going to think a lot differently than I just want the deck because I want it. And that's the thing too, if you're thinking to yourself, well, I may keep this deck forever, you might want to be able to invest more in it, or thinking, I'm not sure where I want to land on this deck, I want to kind of build it and see where it goes. That's fine too. Well guys, I hope you liked the video. It's kind of just my thought processes when you're picking the right Yu-Gi-Oh deck for yourself. How do you want to balance all these things? Because let's get real, Yu-Gi-Oh is a very complicated game, and I think sometimes we get kind of carried away with either it's too competitive or it's not too competitive, or just because it's legacy doesn't mean it's good. If you want to build Blue Eyes, for example, you may like old school Blue Eyes versus new school Blue Eyes, and that's completely fine with you, but it all depends on how you want to play the deck or what you want to get out of your deck. Again guys, it's your boy Chillfish. Please comment, like, and subscribe. If you guys are thinking of anything you want us to talk about, any topics, or any video discussion or even deck profiles, we do the What to Run series. If you're thinking, new archetypes coming out, or an archetype has not gotten a lot of love, I want you to see what you guys would play with this deck, please let us know. We're here to kind of not just put our 2 cents into the Yu-Gi-Oh world, but also hear your comments and suggestions. And I definitely go through the comments. I try to like a lot of things, comment. I know Jay tries to. I know Conan Bandit does on his channel, and that's kind of it. So guys, wrapping it up, this is your boy Chillfish, and we'll see you guys Monday.